Welcome to Keto Meals and Recipes.com. In today's video, I will show you how to make these delicious, seasonal, and appropriately colored red and white red velvet crinkle cookies that are keto, gluten-free, and can be frozen as prep-ahead treats. I love making and eating cookies, and if you like these red velvet crinkle cookies with these soft pillowy interiors, you may also like the other crinkle cookies such as my sugar-free gingerbread crinkle cookies or my pumpkin spice snickerdoodle cookies, which are almost like a crinkle cookie. And if you like cookies, also do check out the end links for more tasty holiday cookie ideas. The macronutrient ratio for each of these tasty red velvet crinkle cookies is 2.9 to 1, with 3.7 grams of total carbs, 1 gram of soluble fiber, 1.6 grams of insoluble fiber, resulting in 1.2 grams of net carbs per cookie. As part of my prep, I always assemble all of my ingredients to ensure I have everything I will need for whatever recipe I'm making. Also, while I'm doing the prep, I weigh each ingredient. As well, I preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. And the last bit of prep is to line my baking sheet with parchment paper. The next step I'm going to do is to combine all of my dry ingredients. So to a large mixing bowl, add your almond flour, the coconut flour, the unflavored whey protein powder, Dutch processed cocoa, salt, glucomannan or konjac root powder, and the baking powder. Now that I've added all of my dry ingredients, I'm going to whisk very well in order to combine and make a homogeneous dry mixture. Usually I would sift all my dry ingredients through a sieve, but I've misplaced it, so I'm going to use my hand whisk to break up any clumps and to make sure that everything is well combined. Now it's time to work with the wet ingredients. To a separate large mixing bowl or your stand mixer bowl, drop in the room temperature butter and add your sweetener, which I have ground to confectioner powder. If you are using a stand mixer, I would like to suggest that you use the paddle attachment, not the whisk, and beat everything for about 2 minutes. You want the butter and the sweetener to be extremely well incorporated and for the butter to be lighter and fluffier, and for the butter to be a nice pale yellow. While whipping, you'll notice that the butter mixture is sticking to the inside of the bowl. So at least once or twice, stop and scrape the inside of the bowl. Then restart your stand mixer at medium-low speed and add your first egg. Then continue whipping, and when you notice that the butter and the egg are starting to be combined, add your second egg. As you continue whipping, also pour in your lemon juice and add either the vanilla or, as I'm doing, the cinnamon powder. This will enhance the flavor of the chocolate. And now I'm going to add the red food color. Usually I would use a gel food color. My local stores were completely out, so I'm trying a new product. I will link the written recipe as well as everything I use and recommend in the description box below. While you're blending everything together, you may notice that the mixture looks curdled, but don't worry, the dough will come together when you add all the dry ingredients to this liquid mixture. To ensure an easier blend, add the dry ingredient mixture 1 scoop at a time as you continue to whip at medium-low speed. You want to blend these ingredients just until they're combined, and you don't want to over blend and whip, because if you do that, your cookies will become denser and harder. So again, I'd like to emphasize, whip only until the wet and dry ingredients are combined. With your spatula, scrape the sides of the bowl, and you'll notice that the dough is a nice, vibrant red. That's exactly what you want. You're not quite ready to form the dough balls, so cover the bowl with cling wrap and refrigerate for about 1 hour. You need the dough to be chilled, otherwise it'll be very mushy and hard to form. To make my dough balls, I'm going to use a 1 tablespoon ice cream scoop, but you could also use a 1 tablespoon measuring spoon to scoop out the dough. But when you're scooping, don't press down on the dough. Be very gentle. And to make sure that each cookie is going to be about the same weight, I use the back of my knife to level off the dough. And after removing the dough from the scoop, I just very gently, without any pressure, form the dough into a ball. And place the dough balls on the parchment-lined cookie sheet, but leave plenty of space between each of the dough balls. And when you're done, then gently press down on the dough ball to slightly flatten the top. You still want a ball shape, not a flat cookie. I'm now going to put the tray with all these dough balls into the middle position of my preheated oven and bake for 10 minutes. Because I like a nice soft, fluffy, pillowy texture on the inside, but if you like your cookies a little bit crisper, bake for 12 minutes. When you take your cookies out of the oven, they will look a little bit underdone and maybe a bit soft. This is the perfect time to remove the baking tray from the oven. And also, while they're still soft, as soon as you remove the tray from the oven, take the tray and gently drop it on the surface of your counter from about 8 inches or so. By dropping it, you'll notice that the cookies will slightly crack or crinkle, and that's the look you're going for. Having done that, set your tray aside on your counter and leave the cookies in the tray for about 10 minutes to cool slightly. When your cookies have cooled, use a spatula, scoop up the cookies, and transfer the cooled cookies onto your wire rack so that the cookies can cool down both top and bottom. Before adding the powdered sweetener, make sure that your cookies are completely cool to room temperature. This will take a couple hours or so, but if you can, please leave them overnight on your counter. This will help to develop both the flavor and the texture of the cookies. And once you're sure that your cookies are completely cooled, add the reserved tablespoon of powdered sweetener to a small fine sieve, and tapping the sieve slightly, drizzle the powdered sweetener evenly over the surface of the cookies. Because we're working with non-glutinous cookies, the steps are a little bit different, but the look of these cookies will end up being the same, and that's what you're after. These beautiful looking and delicious red and white crinkle cookies are a perfect and cheery way to celebrate your holiday. Because the holidays tend to be a very busy time, I like to prep ahead as much as I can. So I'm going to only make about a dozen or so cookies to enjoy today. And the rest of the dough balls I'm putting on a smaller cookie sheet and putting them into my freezer so that each individual ball can freeze. Once the balls are frozen, I transfer them to my freezer-safe container, which I have labeled so that I know what's in there. And in this way, I'm accumulating a lot of Christmas cookies that all I have to do is take them out of the freezer, let them thaw, and bake them. And then I have a fresh batch of cookies ready for my family and friends to enjoy. I hope that you have found this recipe and tutorial useful and informative. I always love hearing from you, so do leave me a comment and let me know what kind of cookies are your favorite to serve during the holidays. And please come back when I post my next recipe, which is another batch of cookies and happens to be one of my son's absolute favorites. And if you look at the lid of my container, you'll probably guess what the cookies will be. Thank you very much for your support and for taking the time to watch my video. It really helps a lot. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Cheers!